More successful ones have been obviously the strict press, which has just come to brute strength.
Number 8, lane 1.
We are off. All four athletes onto the monster dumbbell. That was a... We are off. Very good start for all four, and they're lost in lane 2 is phenomenally fast. That is so there's a neck and neck now for lane 1 and lane 2.
Finley with a sub 40-second time.
I know.
I was not able to see the stage side.
All right, welcome back to my channel, Ross the Ball Strongman. I'm doing another interview series, and today I am joined with Josh Kowalewski. Is that how you pronounce it?
You're close. Kowalewski.
Kowalewski. Okay. Well, anyway, joined by Josh Kowalewski, two-time Arnold's champion, back-to-back, might I add, and runner-up at 2023 OSG World's Strongest Man. Josh, how you doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Feeling good. Happy to finally connect and be able to talk.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I asked Josh if he'd want to come on several weeks ago, and due to both our schedules, didn't quite work out till now, but very, very happy and excited to have you on here, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. For an off season, what we're calling an off season, I've just been insanely busy. So yeah, I'm happy we're able to connect here.
Heck yeah. Okay, well, we'll just jump right in then with it. Starting off, early days. Do you have any other siblings? Were you always competitive growing up? Did you play any sports? Kind of what was your start like?
Yeah, I've been active in sports, I think, since I was young. I feel like it's pretty common for anybody. I mean, you start playing with like Pee Wee League and stuff like that. So I started out playing soccer for a few years when I was in second grade. I think it was my first year I started, and played for a few years. And also played, Pee Wee football. Pretty sure I still actually have an Anoka County Pee Wee Football League touchdown record from 1998. Like I scored like 50 touchdowns in second grade because we had me and my buddy played on the same team, and he was substantially larger than me. You know me, I'm an 80-kilo guy. Surprised I was not a big kid either. But I was fast. I was shifty. So I had oily hips. So I was ready to go as a running back, and my buddy was playing fullback, and our team had 3 plays, and all 3 of them just involved me following him for as long as I could, and then just just sprinting out. And yeah, so that was always fun. So just kind of started playing football. I found out I liked hitting kids a lot, so I ended up stopped playing running back and moved to a different position on defense. But that I had that carry over into my soccer career, which was not exactly a positive thing. So I was respectfully asked to leave or not participate in the next season of soccer when I was in 5th grade after getting a little too aggressive. I got kicked out of like half the games, like just red card after red card to get kicked out of games. So that was how I went out guns a-blazing for my soccer career.
I was going to say, so you literally covered so many other questions I had with that. One, I was going to ask, were you really competitive? 2, I was going to ask, were you good, and like with the other kids, for your size? So you just answered half of those. And then obviously being aggressive and wanting to win. I mean, all of that is lined up in that answer.
Oh, bro. Yeah. It was I aggressive. Yes. Incredibly competitive. I wasn't really an asshole until I got a little bit older.
That's a learned behavior.
That was definitely a learned behavior. I started getting, I got kicked out of a couple football games when I was getting up into like when you really should not be getting kicked out of football games and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I getting ejected from those games, and then getting a coach ejected with me was really funny. I've got a couple. We'll go into that another time. That's a story for another time.
Shoot, we can go into if you want to.
No, man. No, it was just one of those times where you just things get heated, and yeah, when you I think I was 13 when I did this. Yeah, I fully just cussed out a ref.
Yeah.
After getting a penalty on me.
Yeah.
and then my coach came over and also got ejected for the exact same thing. Just cursed out the ref.
Sure.
We did get invited back to compete the next season, so that was good.
Yeah. So would you say, obviously from the start, you're a guy who's just been wired and passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're very passionate about it.
Dude, kind of a downfall of mine. Well, I mean, it's a strength and a weakness. But if I'm doing something, it's 100% in. Like I don't go half measures on anything. So if I'm not gonna give it 110%, I'm not doing it. There's just no.
Yeah.
I really genuinely don't see the purpose in doing it. So
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
noticed.
important.
Yeah, I noticed that about you. The first time we competed was in 2022 at OSG, which I didn't talk to anybody in that one. But then last year, you were really on a mission last year. And as we were competing, I will go on and I'll probably eventually try to get Chris Harper on here as well. But last year while we were competing, I was like, this dude he is on fire. And it wasn't just like, I don't mean that you're just on fire like for right then. We all know that you have moments in strongman that you might be able to make happen where you actually achieve things. But no, you were good across the board, torching it. So we'll get into that too.
Yeah.
But definitely wanted to give you props on that,
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you.
With your story here going on in football, when did you start lifting weights for that? Did you lift weights for football? I guess the better question is, when did you start the gym or doing that?
Yeah. So I think when I actually ended up getting started in the gym was going into high school. So, 14, 15 years old. Not really being – my school had they had a good weight training program. They had an awesome gym and everything like that. But it was kind of mid-2000s, we were still in the middle of all this gym bro science and everything like that, and all that was transferred directly into a lot of the coaching that I was receiving. So we weren't deadlifting, we weren't squatting, but we were benching, doing 3 different types of bench, which, it doesn't really translate to lower body strength or agility or anything like that, right? So there was definitely that was kind of my start getting serious in the gym, and it definitely kind of opened the door for me for just kind of having that consistency and just having something, that outlet and something that you can just consistently do. But obviously moving on from just being the standard, like every day's arm day type program.
Sure. And when you started the gym, 2 questions there. Number 1, did you like it? Did you take to it? And then number 2, were you pretty strong quickly with that?
Oh man, I'll be honest, I didn't like it at first, and the primary reason because I was a high schooler and we had to wake up at 6 a.m. to go be at the gym by 6:30, and I had to ride my bike there. So not and listen, I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm not a fan. I'll put in the work, but I'm lazy as hell. I'm gonna cut corners wherever I can to make things easier, not to downplay the difficulty of training for things like strongman or anything like that, but. I'm a big path of least resistance guy. That's for sure. Yeah.
So, okay, starting off there, you're going pretty good. You're enjoying that. How far did you take your football career as well?
Yeah, no, that's actually a good question. So I was planning on not going beyond high school. So competed up through my senior year. We made it to state my junior year. So we had a pretty successful team there. Like building a good camaraderie around the guys and everything like that, and having this team atmosphere. I was about that at that point.
And what position were you playing? Because you were playing running back. What did you get moved to on defense?
I played strong safety and nickel. So I basically shifted all around in the backfield, defensive backfield there. But yeah, that was, man. I'll tell you, like I'll be the first one to tell you, I had a good understanding of defensive schemes, everything like that. But my primary objective and like my purpose for being a starter out there was to just fuck people up. Like I was there to hit people. I was there to make tackles. That was period it.
Yeah.
So they used me excessively in that sense, like blitzes and just cut. Yeah. Anytime we had to shut somebody down in a short yardage, that was just kind of my gig.
Like a Troy Polamalu guy.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. Hey, and I'll say his hair. I think it's better than mine. I think it's better than mine. You are a close second. We'll give him that, but you are a close second. Fair enough.
Yeah, good deal. So okay, you were answering that question on how far you went with it.
So I actually ended up. So I was planning on stopping senior year, and then I got a call from a college in Wisconsin, and they were looking for somebody that had my specific skill set. So I ended up going there, played there for a year and a half, and then just ended up kind of like, I mean, shit. Again, I won't lie, dude. I'm 5'7", 5'8" on a good day. Like there's not really a place when you get in these higher levels and everything like that. You can only be so successful at when you're vertically challenged.
Yeah.
But shit, like the good thing about me going to college and playing ball there for the time that I did was I got introduced to actual training, doing like power cleans, hang cleans, things like that, actually deadlifting. You know, we were still benching a little bit, but, you know, squats, actually getting like the good compound movements in.
Sure.
And that was when I actually started to kind of build on that athletic, like truly build on my athletic base.
Okay. Would you say when you were doing it in college, was it really aware on your body where you were just trying to keep up with all the bigger athletes? Is that kind of where it fell apart for you, or just I mean, the whole ordeal?
No, it was like the whole ordeal, man. And like, I mean, we had a pretty decent team, but I mean, frankly, like my only spot that I could play was really nickel, when the rest of the guys that, you know, people that if you've got a 6'1" safety and a 5'8" safety and you're pretty similar in skill set, you're going to take the 6'1" safety.
Yeah.
Like 100% of the time. And I totally understand that. It's totally fair, because shit, that allowed me to just actually do, you know, focus on school, actually focus on getting my degree. And that was, you know, the real reason I was there.
Yeah.
And, you know, partying and everything too, but that's
yeah. Well, you say you're fast, and since we're on football, what was your 40 time? Which I know that doesn't mean everything, but
yeah. The year we stopped, or when I dropped out of football, was spring of 2011, and I was running a 4.55 at that point.
Yeah,
which, you know, it was pretty fast. I had 4.55 40. I had a 36-inch vertical. I benched 225 33 times, I think. Again, so as a freshman, so it was just kind of like the only other guy that beat me was a guy he was a 6-year senior, and he was kind of like the star of the football team, and he did 35.
That was the record, dude, for a long time in the NFL.
Bro, when you're 5'8" on a you know, solid football team, you're in the gym a lot.
So, you were building that for sure for the whole time.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, the more I talk to and do these interviews with you lightweights, well, I'm in the same boat, but as far as you guys, your caliber, you guys are just incredible. I mean, people, I think the 80-kilo class is something, it's relatively new, but it's something that kind of got overlooked there in the beginning. But now people are starting to really look at it a lot more. You got guys like, you know, Tommy was a big first one, kind of like for really setting it off. And then Dean is another one who, like, I mean, he blew it up. I mean, last year, the year before, just from his popularity standpoint, like, everybody watched a lot of stuff with Dean, and they started to realize, man, these guys are just really good, the weights. But what you're talking about, even in the beginning of this, 225 for how many reps? 33?
33, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can think back at you being way younger, but I can think back when those were the records, and you got 350-pound linemen hitting that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I don't care about people saying, oh, you're 5'7", you're vertically challenged, it makes it easier. It does not matter. You've got a guy who's double your body weight, you know. Relative is relative. I mean, and there is definitely a spot for that. So anyway, just to start off with that, I'm telling you, our class, in my opinion, I'm biased, but it's the strongest class.
it's kind of that pound for pound argument. Like everybody always say, I mean, back when, even if you go to like UFC and things like that, you know, I remember when GSP was fighting, and everybody would talk shit about whether he was the strongest in the, you know, pound for pound or anything like that. And he's lighter than we fucking are. You know, it's wild to see the progression of all these other classes. I mean, relatively speaking to ours, where the weights that we are doing we did at OSG last year, those were world's strongest man weights less than 20 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And the percentage progression, you know, relative to weight that the 80 kilos have moved along versus the opens or the 105s, anybody like that. Like, it's just not there. They have not gotten stronger, relatively speaking, where we are.
No, and there's two things with that. Number one, some of the sandbag stuff that we pick up and run with is the exact weight that they do at Worlds currently.
Yep.
And then I'll say this: did a contest which qualified me for Worlds last year, and the max dumbbell for our weight class, I hit 190, so that's above what we weighed in at. And then the next guys was all the way up to 105 class. That was the next class that beat my number or matched it. So there's a guy weighing 230 some pounds and he can't hit, there was only one I think that did hit 190. And then you've got us, and there were several of my guys who were all right there ready for it. I mean, Nate Goons and I don't know if you know Rob Youngerman, but he was at OSG last year. Oh, Jason Tittlebomb. There it is. Yeah. World's Strongest Nerd or whatever his name is. Yeah. We all were in that same class, so it's just funny. Our class was the one, that were able to do it, and the other ones couldn't. It's the same thing with the frame. We had a frame we had to run down and back. It was a really difficult frame, and there was a lot of biceps torn on that show. Yeah. But only Jason and I were able to take it down and back one stop, and there was only one other person in the whole show who was able to complete it and down and back, and that was in our class. Everybody else got obliterated from top to bottom. Yeah,
it's crazy, man. It's wild to me still that people just don't really, and I know obviously I'm biased as well, but just that people don't appreciate and seem to respect this weight class as much when it's just kind of proven time and time again. We had 2 years ago at the Arnold, we had a similar example on the Rogue stage when we were doing max dumbbell there, where I was the only guy left trying for a 221, I think was what our next weight jump was. And I'm sitting up up on the stage surrounded by open men that are like competing for a spot in the Arnold championship the next year, the actual strongman classic. And there's a video of me, I've got like my hands in like tucked in between my legs, kind of just like looking like a little kid, just surrounded by all these big brothers. It was the funniest thing. But no, this weight class is just wild, man. Our strength is insane. There's dudes pulling well into the sevens now. I just saw Ricky just pulled 727. Yep. Attempting a double. Then that was the fastest 727 I've ever seen in my entire life. And he was mad that he didn't get he wasn't disappointed because that wasn't the PB he wanted. Between you and me and everybody else watching, I guess. I was like, after Ricky tore his bicep last year, I was just so bummed when he tore that at OSG because dude is on a warpath too. Yeah. But he tore it, and then I it seemed like he took a long time to get surgery, and he finally gets surgery. I'm like, all right, there's no way he's going to be back for OSG this year. Like I've got a little bit of an opening for myself here. That man's coming back, and he's gonna be tough, so I'm happy about that though, because I don't want to be gunning for the top without having the top guys there.
There you go. Yeah, that's a true testament to you and your character with that. But yeah, shoot, before we go on, talk about Ricky here for a second too. I was going to get to it with your dumbbell later on, but you brought it up now. Your dumbbell, dude, is on point. That was that not when you did that at the Arnold? Was that not the world record?
It's the American record. So
it's a biscuit underneath the world record.
Just under, yeah. And I believe Harper has the world record for dumbbell right now.
Does he?
I think so. I don't, man. Yeah. I apologize for being a terrible guest about this, but dude, I do not immerse myself into strongman the way like a lot of people do. Like I know the people that I know, but I don't track records. I don't track where people really are at that much. I follow my buddies, and that's basically it. There you go.
And there is a point too to trying to track records to where you can wear yourself out. You don't necessarily, you don't have to have the record really in anything to win. You have to just be able to be good at everything. If you can be as close as you can as that, you just kind of have to know where the number's at and get as close as you can to it in as many things as you can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just can't have any weak points.
Yeah. Good deal. Okay, so we're going to get back on timeline here. Playing college football, a year and a half goes through. You're in the weight room heavily now. Where does it go from there?
Yeah, there I started going to the bars. That's what I did after that. Like literally going to the bars. I stopped training, or I did not do training. I would work out maybe once a week
Really?
with like my roommates, and we would it was either bis and tris or chest and back. Like those were the only two things, the only two weight groups that we were doing. And I think we'd mix in some calves, just to kind of like, it was the beginning of trying to show off the legs, summer body and everything like that, right? So for years, man, there was a huge lull in my weight training from that time, 2011, all the way until 2014 is when I picked it back up again. And the reason I picked it up is because I bought a house. Me and my now wife moved to Minneapolis and bought a house, and there's just a legendary gym up there called Los Campeones. And it's just a hardcore bodybuilding gym, like spit on the floor type gym. Like your basement looks like what half the looks like. In the best way, and I mean that totally respectfully. They called part of the gym, like the strongman area, was just the dungeon. Yeah. And so it's just kind of like this really like tough and rough, tough and tumble gym. So I trained there for about a year, and then the owner of that gym put together a non-sanctioned strongman competition. Most janky thing you've ever heard of. Like part of the events were on a entirely ungroomed softball field that was just bombed out. Like there were 2.5 foot dips in certain parts of this. Yeah. And one of the events was like frame into a farmer's. It's so like not safe whatsoever. Yeah. We were doing like a max barbell clean and press on grass with no mats whatsoever. And then by the time like the weights were done, like, you're pulling from a 2.5-inch deficit because it was just burying itself in the ground. Yeah.
So nobody did any split jerks, did they?
No split jerks, man. That was 2016. So that was pre-split jerks in strongman. I don't know if anybody was doing those at that point.
Well, a guy I had on here, he's an old-time strongman, but they had a weightlifter that crossed over, and he said this was years ago. They told everybody, don't do any split jerks, and then that was just because they didn't like it, but it was wet, and the guy did it anyway, and it snapped his knee or something. That's why I said that.
Bro, that's one of my things. I can't knees. I don't play with knees. That's fucking terrible.
Oh yeah. Okay, so excuse me. You found this gym where you moved to. You start training. Was there people in there, I guess, obviously, that were doing strongman, like you said? It was, or kind of.
There were a few. I had seen a total name out of a hat or name drop here, but Dave Osland, I'd seen him there a couple times.
Okay, yeah.
Strongest man back in the
yeah.
The only world's strongest man competitor to come from Minnesota, so he's kind of like the guy
legend there.
Yeah, and obviously makes the best tacky in the world. So I get that back in my own backyard, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, but. So I've seen him there a couple times. There's a couple just like random, like your typical strongmen that are, dudes in their mid-30s, mid-40s that are just kind of like, fat, out of shape, just picking up rocks. And I said, that looks pretty sweet. And they got invited over to kind of try one time. And obviously it's a blast. That's why we're still doing this here. So,
sure.
But yeah, we kind of built a little bit of a strongman community there. It was really cool to see the progression of just building a space there, because Nick Gagne, he trains at Los every once in a while too, or did previously as well. So just another kind of legendary lightweight strongman. So I would train together quite a bit, and it's kind of cool just being able to see, there's a very tight-knit strength community in Minnesota, or just like kind of, it's like a little bit of a honey hole for really elite athletes across powerlifting, strongman. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So when you started doing that, you were talking about how athletic you were, in high school and even in college. Did you pick up, did you put the connection together with strongman in the beginning that, hey, this athleticism might actually carry through there with me? Or did you just view it kind of all as just pure strength?
It was I definitely saw the carryover, moving events specifically. I mean, sure. Things like farmers and yoga. I've always just been good at those events. And me and my coach actually kind of over the past year kind of realized how much I'd been throttling my own strength and speed in those events. So I've gotten substantially faster now that I'm kind of remembering and making those connections again between, just that mind muscle connection between your feet and your head, and just being able to move faster under load. It's a huge thing for our sport.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing, but I feel like a lot of people overlook that sometimes because they think because it's heavy and they feel that heavy, they have moved slow because of the heavy. But you're going to feel it be heavier the longer you're with it. The faster you can get through it and get it dropped on the ground, it's going to feel lighter or be better, Not
Absolutely.
to mention you get way better points.
Yeah. That's a nice little added benefit as well. But
Yeah.
Selfish reason is definitely so that you can just get that shit off your back as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. So going on with that there, you're training, you were talking about that terrible play. Was that the first place you did was that your first show you ever did?
First one ever. Yeah.
Okay. How did that go for you?
I swept every event, like handedly won every single event.
Really?
Yeah. And again, not even talking shit. It wasn't like there was, it was an unsanctioned meet in the backyard. It's backyard type meet.
Right.
I know there were at least 2 dudes drinking beers the entire time. So it was definitely that type of meet. But it was. I didn't mention this before, but that first competition was actually like the week before my wedding too. So I was very much just like, let's not get hurt. Let's get through this, so I'm not limping down the aisle in a week because my wife's gonna kill me now.
Right. So when you did that first meet, did you go away thinking, man, that was great, I want to do more of this? Or are you thinking, I'm not sure, maybe I'll take a little bit of time before I try it again? What was your thoughts on that?
No, I definitely wanted to do it again. The thing is, at the time, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about these corporations or USS, Strongman Corp, anything like that. OSG wasn't even a thing at that point. I think that was just coming around the corner. But so I just started to immerse myself into it a little bit and started training Strongman a little bit more. Ended up I competed again, I think 8 months later or so. And that was the one that qualified me for USS Nationals 2018. And
gotcha.
Yeah. And so that was where I kind of stuck for the first couple of years of my career, was in the USS side. I didn't even do a Strongman Corporation show until Beast of the Bluegrass in 2020. That was my first ever Strongman Corporation show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then rolling on from that, your invite that you got to Nationals, did you win that show?
No, actually, I didn't. Nick Gagne beat me on that one.
Okay.
So I got second in that one.
Okay. See, that's pretty interesting too. I'm somebody who never really had in Strongman. I never had that first place for a long time.
Yeah.
I was second, just enough to just we're out, But the funny part with it was my competition kept getting better. I mean, it started for me. It was trying to beat my older brother, and my older brother has just progressively gotten bigger to where it's got me at least where I'm trying to beat the guys in the world now. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. It's a good deal. So you went on there and you went to Nationals, I'm assuming, from that.
Yep. Yeah.
How did that go?
That was one in New York. So that actually went really well. I didn't really know what my expectations were. Obviously, work my ass off leading up to it.
Sure.
There's a lot of just random events that I couldn't really train ever. There was like an arm over arm truck pull was one of the events. A car deadlift was another one, and then circus dumbbell. That was my first ever circus dumbbell in competition, and I won that event. So I got to win my first event and my first nationals ever. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
What were the weights in the dumbbell? Was it dumbbell for reps or max dumbbell there?
Yeah, clean every rep, and I want to say it was 130.
Okay. How many did you get?
I think I got 9 on that. Okay.
That's good.
It was good. And there was that competition there too. I mean, that Nate Green was there. He was the one that won that year. So
okay. What year was this? 2018, you said?
2018. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Nice. Okay. So you're going on.
Tommy was there too, now that I'm mentioning that. Tommy was there as a 165.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't even know that they had a 165, but that's for nationals.
Well, I don't think the sub-weight classes of USS is something we want to go down the rabbit hole.
No.
There's like 29 fucking classes in in that corporation. No, I can't believe it because lightweight for men is technically 181 and there's a 165 class 2, and then they combine them for overall in some weird like.
How do you do that?
It's some math thing again. I don't know. That shit doesn't bother me. So I don't concern myself with that stuff anymore. So
there you go.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, I was thinking. I didn't really think about it until I thought back kind of to some powerlifting days. You do have a lighter weight class. You got 165, and then after that, I think it goes to depends on what federation. You got some 148, and I think it's some is 130. 132, I think, is a women's weight class though. But there is one that gets down there pretty light.
It's crazy, man. I'm all for having a couple of weight classes, but there's got to be a limit here.
Yeah. What do you think of? Well, I don't know when to ask that question. We'll move on. I was going to say, what do you think of the? I'll ask anyway. The lightweight masters that they're adding to OSG.
What's the weight cutoff for it? Is it 105? I think it is.
I don't know if it is or not because I know that guy Rob Youngerman. I think he's going to do it. I don't want to try name drop him on here, but whatever. I just did it again.
Yeah, that's 2 now.
Yeah.
I think I'm not mad about it. I think that there's a lot of people that are just kind of like aging out of this now, which is odd to say when you've got somebody like Tommy that's pushing 40 and he's still at the top of his weight class, even though he hasn't competed for a couple of years. Like, and people are still talking about him. Like he's like I don't know. I don't think that age needs to necessarily be a cop out for moving up to another weight class or anything like that. But it's part of the sport growing, I suppose. I'm happy to make it more accessible to other people, but it's just that slippery slope. You got to keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't go too far. Sure,
because if you go too far, you can get lost in the sauce with it, and you can leave it. You can turn people off with it as well.
Yeah, and it's just there's as much as I love Strongman, people need to understand that it has an expiration date. You can't be doing this forever, and that's okay. That doesn't like. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that your functional fitness can't carry on. That's fine. That training can last and help you for forever. You should be trying to, but your competition time clock is ticking for everybody. I mean, you've got legends. That's why you had legends for years. You had Zadrunas. I mean, and the craziest one of all is probably Mark Felix, almost 60 years old. But what happened? I mean, he got to the end of it, and he's like, he went out a legend, but he had to go out from what he was doing. Yeah. There was a time, and I mean, and shit. You could even argue that open with that what is it, 50 plus open masters, whatever that is that Mark was ending up in. Like, I mean, that was tailor made for him and his ability to be able to be there. Like, nobody's going to be coming close to Mark for the foreseeable future. That's ridiculous. That guy actually is a legend. Mark's a true legend. Yeah.
Just being able to take that kind of poundage on your body for that long, that's really crazy. And you could say whatever you want to, but that was, the weights going up or this or that, but that's a long time for your body hitting those maxes.
Which is something that, it's an interesting thing that we can get into here is his ability to train for as long as he did without sustaining any, career altering injuries or anything like that. The guy was in World's Strongest Man for, what was it, 10 consecutive years, something like that. And again, I don't even know. I know it's a ridiculously long time. And now he never finished in the top, in the top 5, I believe was as high as he ever got, but, never finished all the way on the top, never won. But there's a lot of guys that won, and then you never really heard from him ever again.
Yep.
But and that's because they beat themselves into the ground, and like that trickles down to all these other weight classes where even in our own weight class, there's these guys that burn so hot they're incredible for a year or two, and then you never hear from them again.
We'll get back on your story here in a minute, but with what you're talking about, it's a big difference between optimal and maximal.
Very true.
What is your body? I take a little bit. I'm not going to be the guy really anymore who takes just one training methodology and calls it God and takes it out from everybody. I'm not going to argue with some of these guys who've paved the way before me either, because you couldn't really sit there and say that they're wrong with stuff because they're using science. But the application, you know, you can take little pieces, but that is one that I have used. And ever since I started doing that, like I've just progressively gotten way better, you know. But from 2000 probably 16 to 2021, I was pretty stagnant. That's a long time of being stagnant. And every week I beat myself into the pulp, you know, just every week. But when you kind of realize, wait a second, it's just it's a slow burn. You can be a flash in the pan and go as hard as you can, or you can just be smart and just keep taking those little progressions and little wins. You know, how you go about doing it, you can do all kinds of training ideologies, but it has to be what your body can take and recover from.
Yeah. And that's the other unique part about, I mean, just getting to know yourself and your body, and, you know, working with a good coach obviously contributes to that as well. But just getting to know yourself, because what works for me might not work best for you.
Exactly.
And like shit, even I use Nick Gagne as an example here, just because, you know, he's local to me and everything like that. But the shit that I've seen that dude do in training, like 10 sets of 5 at 240, 250, and he just sets a timer, does it. And I'm like, that shit does not work for me. There's no, I would die. Die. That would not work for me.
Yeah.
But it works for some people. And it's just finding out what works for you. And in my case, I like to find the again, least stimulus as possible to get the maximal output as possible.
Yeah.
And then just finding that area so that you don't, you know, overexert yourself. You don't end up getting hurt, which is one of the reasons why, you know, I've never had, oddly enough, since I started my strongman career, I haven't had a substantial injury that's, you know, removed me from competition or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, you talk about it, you know, jokingly, saying it's you being lazy with your training, but for me, doing exactly what you're talking about doing there, where you want to do the least amount of thing you can do that's going to give you the most amount of stimulus. That is like to a T what I have adopted over the past several years. But for me, that means in my head, I've tricked myself to saying that's me working harder, because I want to be in the gym and I want to hit that PR and I want to just take that, you know, just keep hammering. Like, and I feel like, you know, they have all these motivational videos about being a lion and outworking everybody while your competition's sleep and all this bull crap that people listen to. And the real truth is, you want to outwork your competition, do what you have to do, have the discipline to shut that off, go eat your meals, go to bed, you know, or go stretch or go do this. You know, there's so many things that comes full circle outside the gym. The gym is like one small little part in the graph of the pie chart.
Yeah, man. And that's you nailed it right there. Is just that the stuff that you do in the gym is it's just a piece of the puzzle. And it arguably might not even be the biggest piece of the puzzle, or piece of the pie. Right. Yeah,
sure.
And even admittedly, if somebody at my level, being up here for as long as I can, or as long as I have been, it was, you know, January of 2023 was the year that I actually got a real fucking coach. I still haven't, I have started locking down my nutrition, and like I started that 2 months ago. Haven't actually gone down that rabbit hole of like being strict on my diet and just not being an asshole and just eating burgers 3 days a week and pizza is my favorite food. So this is very difficult for me. But like these other pieces of the pie, you know, recovery, I'll be one of the first ones to tell you. You might have caught this at OSG this year too, but like I use cannabis heavily and I use it during training. I use it during competition. Like it is something that I use as a tool. And that's another piece of the puzzle that just helps me recover better, eat better, you know, and it's just,
and what's the benefit for that for you?
In which application? Where you want me to start with?
Well, I guess what you talk about in training, that would be the only one, really. That's the only one I care about for that.
Yeah, for sure. So disclaimer: I do not say that or claim to say that this will work for everybody. It might completely fuck up your training. So give it a try, because messing it up one time isn't, you know, it's not a big deal. Whatever, it's an experience. So I'm honored enough to have, you know, I've got a home gym. So that's where, I'm sitting in my home gym right now.
Nice.
So I can kind of use a lot of different tools that other people might not be able to use in public or public gyms or anything like that. But, you know, for let's say I'm training, I'll get through my primary sets my warm-ups, everything like that. Sometimes I even smoke before my primary sets, or my warm-ups, so that I can just kind of focus in on just doing that, like not be on my phone and stuff, and just kind of really delve into doing the things that I need to do. I'll go through my heavy sets, get through all of that, and then, in my case, my adrenaline gets up really, really high, especially after heavy sets and things like that. So it helps me to down-regulate pretty substantially for when you don't need to have your heart rate through the goddamn roof, or just have your adrenaline up so high. So that's usually what I'll have some of that in between my heavy sets and my accessory work, so that I can just get in, finish my accessory work, drink some electrolytes, and just be done with it.
So you're using it as a tool, kind of to switch off there a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You are so freaking wired that you're on go mode that you have to use to get yourself shut off.
I'll save that story for OSG, but yeah, I was using that OSG as well, and just kind of that was an absolute godsend for me for that. I mean, just smoking during competition, like after an event and everything like that, because you got an hour or two between, needing to warm up again. You got to calm down, because if you stay that high for that long, you're going to burn yourself out. Oh yeah. I see it happen every single year, no matter how much you tell people, like, dude, chill out, like put a towel over your face and just take a nap. Like that was my MO. I went out, smoke, and then come back in and take a nap on the floor.
Yeah, that right there. What you just said is real. Adrenaline dump is real. People can say all kinds of stuff. How did he hit it in the gym and he can't do it on calm? He's tearing. No. You don't know those nerves when you get up there. They're a real thing, and you can get yourself so worked up, so boiled over that you're done. Dean is somebody who gets so boiled over, but Dean also can shut it off better than most people I've ever seen do that.
Dean's another just anomaly. He's not. He's wild just watching the way that he can fire himself up. Yeah, and he reminds me kind of like he's like a tea kettle. You just like see him just ramping up slowly. He just gets up there and he finally fucking explodes. Usually at the right time, in the middle of an event, and he's ready to go.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. My approach was I didn't have cannabis, but I have my little daughter, so I was going back and cuddling her, messing with her. But that worked. Just having something. I can relate to it. Everybody's got to have something to where you can turn that off, because you cannot stay at that point. A lot of guys, they'll do it. They're jokesters. That one guy I competed against, Rob Yogerman, he was at OSG as well. He likes to laugh and act goofy. Yeah. That's how he. So anyway, that's a good. Just another tool that you got that you can use at your disposal.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good.
Deal. Okay. Well, we could go a bunch of different directions again, but let's go ahead and go back. 2018, you win nationals. From that track, OSG had just kind of become a thing. When did you find out about that? And shoot, if you have anything in between OSG, I know you do Arnold's very successful there, so go with it.
Yeah, we'll burn through those few years. So OSG 2018, was my first year at OSG. I didn't.
How did you qualify?
Online qualifier.
Gotcha.
So they had done it in 2017, and I admittedly, and even looking back, I would have been strong enough to make finals in 2017. Still am glad that I didn't go, because it just wasn't I wasn't fully into the strongman thing yet. I hadn't decided it was actually what I wanted to do.
Okay.
But by 2018, I knew that, it was a lot of fun. Found out that there's a higher level competition I could go to. I wasn't really expecting it to be anything different than nationals, where I just got third. And I was like, let's do this. Will be fun. And then show up there and find out that it's a lot different. It's a lot higher level of competition. It was really, really crazy. It's funny looking back, because I was, at that point, I still hadn't really locked down my deadlift form or anything like that. Had a pretty big issue with my lower back. It was stemming from football. I don't even know what the actual name of it is. It's like it's a slip disc, but it's worse, where my discs are actually stacked crooked. So it's like fully back there. And when I went and got it checked out, I think this is 2017. I went and got it checked out and got an MRI on it. doctor leaves and comes back in about 5 minutes later with 6 different doctors. And I was like, oh, this seems a little bit unorthodox. I wasn't expecting to see all of you here. And they kind of like sit me down and say, all right, you're going to need to get into surgery tomorrow. Like, we're scheduling you right now because you need to have spinal fusion and all these different things. And I'd been dealing with minor back pain up until that point. That was bad enough to, like, I couldn't really deadlift. I think I had like a 455 max at that point, which is just not it. And so they tell me that, and I've done enough research to know that if you get one spot, if you get a disc fusion surgery, it's going to be 5 years maybe before you have to get the next one above or below that disc fused together as well. It's just kind of the chain that ends up happening. And I asked them that question, and they said, oh yeah, it'll be 5-10 years, what I already knew. So I said, no, I'll try to do some PT stuff instead. Went down that route, and I remember at the beginning I said I go, if I'm trying to, if I'm doing something, I go 110% in on it. I went 110% in on that. Like, I was like, I'm fucking fixing my back. I don't want to have this pain anymore. I'm pissed off because if I even lift 405, I'm for a couple sets of 3, I'm like dying for 2 days afterwards, just insane back pain.
Well, just to pause with what you just said there, thank God you knew enough about it when they all came in there and tried to strong arm you and totally intimidate you to where you felt they had to cut you. I mean, they could have jacked it all up for you right there. Yeah. And something else, I'll say 2 things with it. I didn't have the knowledge back at the time, but in 2016 or 17, I hurt my back really bad doing a 500 deadlift. And I pulled it too far back, and everybody was trying to lock out so far. I pulled it too far back. My lower disc hurt me for probably 4 or 5 years to where I couldn't really overhead press hardly at all. I mean, bad. But my dad kept saying, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. And I was like, no, I've got to figure this out, because if I go to the doctor, they're going to say something crazy, and then he's going to really push me to go do it. So I just held off. But for you on your back, when you say you launched into doing rehabbing it yourself, what were some of the things that you did that, I mean, obviously it worked because here you are with a massive deadlift and overhead. So what did you do?
So I stopped deadlifting. I know it's not a popular thing, but that was my first step, was to completely stop deadlifting. And I bought Dr. McGill's book for just to learn about the big 3, back mechanic. And so just doing those 3 exercises, like bird dogs and everything like that, just kind of going through and just working on stabilizing my erectors. That was step 1. Step 2 was a 12-month process. And again, I didn't have a coach at this point. All I knew was that, I knew I was going to have to do deadlift if I wanted to do the strongman thing or just be strong, period. And I knew that was the thing that was bothering my back the most. So started deadlifting again, but I started with just the bar until I would do that until I felt no pain. Add 5, and I'm not even shitting you, 5 pounds. Do it until I have no pain, and progressed all the way back up to getting to 405. So now there's and again, not to talk a lot of shit, but my deadlift form is rock solid because I was such a stickler during that 1 year where I wouldn't do it if there was any breakdown in form.
Deadlift is not the one that you want to play with, letting the weight. I like how they say it. When you sit there and you round over so bad that the weight is sitting there hanging on your erectors. That's not the look for deadlift at all. It's not the one you want to go to. Did you do any reverse hyper?
None.
Really?
We didn't have one at the gym at the time, so we didn't didn't have reverse hypers.
I didn't have a reverse hyper either, but I knew that my grandfather had a real bad back. He was a bricklayer his whole life, and he had his back fused, I guess, probably before I was even old enough to know about it. But he had a inversion table that was in his bedroom, so he would get on his inversion table all the time, and I watched that. And then I had my other grandpa. He was the same kind of deal. He had one, but when I would get on it, and even especially after I had my back injury, what I found was when you're cranking it back, your back doesn't bend that way. It's not supposed to bend back that way. And that inversion table is doing that. Yeah, it's going to give you decompression, But when it comes back, it's going to be just as bad, and those discs are going to still be, pinching each other, touching. That's why the reverse hyper works so good. I didn't have one. So what I found out to do was I would get on one of those, those Roman chairs that you sit on. I would face the other way on one of those and put my chest on it and let my legs dangle.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I could wick my hips where I could decompress my spine. That's where it started. And then from there, I've just progressed it to where now I'm at my best with it. I've got it set up to where it's almost like a reverse hyper, but you're suspended farther. So it's a little more extreme on your back. And I hang an 80-pound kettlebell wrapped around my legs, and I do back extensions, but I let it swing all the way up. So it decompresses my spine top to bottom. I have to do it every day, but I've been doing it for years now. So 3 years.
That's awesome, man. And their reverse hypers are great. Like, I've got one in my gym now. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
But at the time I didn't have one, but they're great. And it's, shout out Louis Simmons for taking care of that for us.
Yeah. But that back mechanic, I learned about that from, I forget his name. He's a big time power lifter. What was his name? He pushes it big time. I cannot remember what his name was. He was a huge squatter. He's been on Dave Tate's podcast.
Dan Bell is the only one that I know, dude.
Yeah, he's a character too. But that's huge too, because it's like you're talking about working both sides, of your erectors and get everything balanced. When you have a problem, it almost always comes down to an imbalance.
Yeah.
My problem was my hip was really tight, and because as my hip would get tighter, it just kept compensating worse to where the injury happened. That's where these things lie, and you have to get them working together. So that's where you started with, and it worked.
Yep, that was where I started, and it worked. And I just kept moving forward and just adding more weight, progressively getting a little bit stronger here and there.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and again, that's just kind of the thing with my whole career, is just kind of that slow burn, being in it for the long game, and just taking care of yourself, and just kind of that was my first lesson in that sport, or in this sport, was just being able to heal that properly. And I'll take it back. The condition that I have is not ever going to be healed, but given the training that I'm doing, my back pain now is it is not even close. A 1 compared to a 9 where I was before. Yeah, and I'm deadlifting consistently in the 600s now. It's like things like that where I couldn't pick up a barbell without almost being in tears, and now just because of strength training, when those doctors told me I was never going to be able to pick up a barbell again, ever. So it's just, get a second opinion, I guess, is the lesson to be learned there. Yeah.
But I love so many things about what you said there. Number one, you didn't let that stop you, that mindset. You said you're in 100%, but people don't look at, a lot of times they overlook top level athletes or just people at all as not being smart. And so some of the smartest people, like, you not only went to, okay, I'm training, you said, okay, I've got to learn all about this injury, figure it out, and then break it down piece by piece and put it back together. And you said something else there I want to touch on. You said you're never going to be healed from your problem. Yeah. I'm the same way. I've never got it looked at professionally, but I already know. I feel it pop. I know it's a disc in the back. It's never going to be better. I've had it ever since I was 18 years old now. It's never going to be better. But you find ways to work around that actually made you better. And, I said to my dad, I said, it's crazy to say, I wish it didn't happen, but I'm really glad it happened, because if it hadn't happened, I would have never learned and got where I got now, because it made me have to attack it way better, and it kind of sounds like that could be for you too. I mean, your technique for sure.
Yeah. Technique for sure. And I mean, and again, like, length of time I've been able to be in the sport without having reactivating that injury and in any serious way or anything like that is pretty impressive. I'm very happy. I just took my time, and I've kind of had that carry over for my rest of my career here. Just taking time.
What was the timeline? What was the date-ish that happened to you?
So the injury was there. I mean, I was having back pain from 2012 all the way up until that 2017 time, and it just wasn't getting better because I wasn't doing anything about it. Yeah. But went through that rehab cycle, my self-imposed rehab cycle. It worked out really well for me, thank God. Ended up getting to OSG in 2018. I think I took 7th that year. After making, not even expecting to make finals, and ended up taking 7th, which was great. It was really, really awesome. And that was the point when I knew I could do this seriously. That I was actually good enough to be able to be at the top, and I was a lot closer than I thought I was.
Really?
And then
So 2018, you didn't even, you had won nationals and you made it before, but that, like 2018 was the one that you were like, okay, I can do this.
Oh yeah. That was the one. 2018 Daytona, and it was kind of the one where I thought that for a few reasons, and it was my ability to perform was part of it, but kind of my ability to perform under external stimulus and everything like that was another part of it, because that was the year where there was a snowstorm in Raleigh.
Oh gosh.
And being from Minnesota, I was down there with Naganya, and so we had two Minnesota boys rooming together, and we got trapped in the snowstorm, and there's people abandoning their cars on the side of the road, but we're like, we're fucking getting there because we got to get to finals and all this shit. So just kind of, I mean, just again, realizing that, I can still perform even when there's, these crazy things that are happening outside, which is odd because then, a couple years later, we're dealing with a hurricane at OSG as well. But yeah, so if we just want to keep going down OSG path, yes, 2018 took 7th. 2019, I was, oh shit, man, I'll have PTSD from this year forever. But an incredible year for me. Like, I came in feeling so goddamn strong. Won the Viking press right out of the gate.
I'll guarantee you did, Josh. You and that Viking press.
Still undefeated on Viking press. Never lost a Viking press. So I'm hoping that OSG, if Lynn's listening, Lynn, go ahead and bring that back, buddy. Let's do it.
You're the second one. You're the second one to say that. Carl Sherry said it last week, and I'm sitting here like, I hate the Viking press. We'll get into that in a minute. But go for it, brother. Keep talking about it. 2019.
So we get 2019. I mean, had a hell of a year. Like, Viking press went great. Deadlift went great. Farmers went awesome. And then there's got that damn death medley. Like, I mean, I still placed really well on that one as well. I don't want to talk about the death medley. That's been talked to death. It sucked. It was as bad as everybody says it was. I got carried off the floor. I watched Flash get dragged off, somebody grabbed him under his arms and carried him out of there. But then, so going into finals and everything, and it was odd because the finals events in 2019 were the fixed axle press for reps, and I just never got to warm up on it. I never got to train a fixed axle like that before. So I ended up placing really, really low on that. So I dropped from first to I think third or fourth right on that one event. And then the next event was power stairs, and I had trained power stairs one time before that, and it was on one of those sketchy pipe implements that you with stuff you made from the hardware store. And it was just at the gym I was training at, and I went to load it with the 350, and the bottom snapped and it fell right in between my legs a week and a half before Worlds, and I looked down, I'm like, well, if that was 6 inches to the left, I would have lost my big toe. So we're not going to train this event again. And so I just didn't put in the time to train that one. And so I kind of got, I dropped from, being in first going into finals all the way to fifth, which again was fine. I think top 5 finish is still really good. I was more disappointed in myself after that one. And obviously 2020 COVID happened. So we didn't do,
what was, with the fixed axle.
Oh yeah.
What was the big challenge for you? I know obviously what people say now, knowing it, but
well, it was 2 things. It was belt cleans were explicitly not allowed going into it.
Yeah.
And then they allowed belt cleans. So I had been training to not hit the belt at all, and then so that kind of I don't think it hurt me, but it gave other people an opportunity to actually
they allowed you to do belt cleans the day of kind of thing.
Yeah. It was in rules, and it was funny because I was even being vocal about it. I'm like, yeah, fuck belt cleans. Nobody likes belt cleans. They're for pussies. We don't. And now, I was wrong. I love belt cleans. Belt cleans are awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's something funny. I've never done belt cleans. Still, but you know,
Come over to the dark side, man. It's fun over here. Let's do it.
well, I'll get there, but you know, I've always been able to have a little bit of belly. I still have a long time in this weight class because you know, I know for a fact I'm not a guy that's like Dean McVie who's just got every ounce of scrap of muscle on his frame that he can. I'm not that guy. I've got a lot more muscle. As I get more muscle, I'll just bring my body fat down. I don't have to right now, you know. But and the belt clean, you know. What I like about not doing a belt clean is I get that, that diaphragm. I get that bounce off my belly with it. It works and it's fast. It works great. But but with the fixed axle, was it a challenge for you? You know, when you go in the weight spin, people don't realize that. And then when you have a fixed axle, that bar has to spin in your hand, or you just kind of have to get in a different way with it.
Yeah, it was just turning it over. I couldn't turn it over because I was so used to turning it over like that, and I wasn't. And I also wasn't, but I had that fucking death grip on it too, like where you're just used to holding onto it like that.
Sure.
Then with a fixed axle, it just doesn't work that way.
No.
So I just struggled with that, but it was just because I didn't put in the time on doing that fixed axle, and then I didn't get to warm up at all because they cut off warm ups early. So another lesson learned though: show up, make sure that you're ready to be warming up on time.
Yeah,
all of that stuff.
So well, I bet you've went back and you can do a fixed axle now.
I can do a fixed axle now. I just got to play with one at home gym con. I got to pick up the actual the Apollon's axle. I don't know if you
saw that. Yeah.
I'll post a video of that some other time, but I actually was able to clean it to my belt. I got and it's 403 fucking pounds, and I got it all. I just on a whim cleaned it to my belt. Actually got it up there and I got it there. It was just oh shit. All right, well, I need to try to get it to the rack now. I was just not even fully expecting to get it there.
Yeah.
And so I actually tried to get it up to the rack, and that probably wasn't happening, not yet. But maybe if we try we can get.
Well, how did that one feel? Everybody talks about the challenge, watching Tom and those guys do it. How did it feel?
It was pretty awesome. It was sweet. I'm very lucky to get the chance to actually touch that thing because at the Arnold last year. Rogue had that at their little booth and everything, and me and my wife were there, and I reach over the red velvet rope to just touch it, and somebody yelled at me immediately about touching it, and then so to be able to go to home gym con and just be able to actually pick it up, and not only that, but be able to they let me try to fucking press it.
Yeah, let you mess with it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I didn't ask them twice. I asked them one time, and when somebody said yes, I was all right, I'm not letting give this.
Better. Yeah, just move on with it. Yeah, go for it. Okay, so 2020 comes along and craps on everybody's parade. Did you compete at all during 2020? Or
I did actually. I went to a random backyard show to set a log record.
Nice.
That still stands today. So I got the American record for log at 3:15.
Nice.
So, and I hit that in a parking lot 5 minutes after it had rained, and there was a 45-degree incline because it was one of those parking lots where it's they're trying to drain all the water to big grate in the middle.
Yep.
And we were just on the outskirts of that, so I was fucking facing downhill trying to front rack a log, which is not easy either.
No. So you soundly have that record.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I hope somebody beats that thing soon.
Well, there's some guys
probably.
There's some guys that are probably capable of it. It's just kind of goes that some people chase records, some people chase titles.
Yeah, I'm definitely a title chaser on that side of things.
Yeah. 2021. What wrapped up 21? And anytime in this storyline that you got Arnold's, you want to talk about them? Because it's not all about OSG. Your Arnold's back-to-back wins, which I realize that's 2023 2022, 2023 or 2023
and 2024.
That's it, back-to-back on this. We'll get into that. I want to hear that. So go take it away.
So for just wrapping up the OSG stuff. So, 2021, I actually ended up taking a year off.
Did you?
I trained really, really hard for a really long time. Okay. And it was it just mentally was not ready to actually compete. I even now, I feel like I was strong enough I was the strongest guy there handedly. I don't think that I could have, that doesn't mean it would have translated to being the strongest, or actually winning the show or anything like that. So, So I ended up backing out of that, and then Lynn decided to honor mine for 2022. So shout out to him. So he gave me the qualification for that one.
That's cool.
But so I basically got to essentially take my training that I had done from 2021 leading up into OSG, not really prepare for the Arnold at all, because I mentioned earlier I competed at Beast of the Bluegrass. That got me a qualification for it was a Plat Plus show, got me a qualification for the Arnold in 2021. And so I ended up doing that instead. And well, it was 2021. They canceled it in 2021, and then it carried over 2022. I know this is all fucking confusing.
Yeah, that's good.
So I was ready. I was ready to just kind of dive into the Arnold in 2022. Had a great time there. Like, you know, I ended up competing against, it was me, Andrew Haynes, Cody Abel, and Richie Stout in the finals.
That's a stacked group right there, ain't it?
Man, stacked. That was a great finals too. It was. I've been friends with those guys for a long time. Like, again, I think that you everybody knows this 80 kilo class is really tight knit.
Sure.
And those are three guys that I'm just really tight with. I really like those guys, Andrew and Cody especially.
Yeah.
Definitely some of my best friends in the sport. So it's always a blast competing against them. Andrew ended up winning that year, first title at the Arnold. On his way to his three-peat, which is insane as well.
Yeah.
So we went through Arnold 2021 or 2022, got back to OSG. You know, didn't really do too much competing in between there or anything like that. I was still kind of doing. I had a coach at the time that, like God bless him, never charged me really for anything. Just wrote me some programming. He didn't, you know, we didn't have check-ins or anything like that, but he got me strong as shit. Gave me guidance when I needed and everything like that. And I just rode that into 2022 at OSG. Things went well there. I had a few slip ups, but still landed in 5th place overall, which, you know, again, just a solid finish. So now at this point I'm at, my tracking's right. Yeah. I'm at a 7th, 5th, and a 5th.
Yeah, I was going to say, so 2019 you got 5th, come back 2022. So real quick too, 2020 you had COVID, probably wasn't much competing there, and then 2021. So you had really a 2-year break. I don't mean a break. It's not really a break because I'm sure you were working, rebuilding. But as far as that stage, you kind of had that break from that. So you're able to come back 2022 with that extra oomph of being back competing again.
Oh yeah. And I was and admittedly I definitely had some imposter syndrome going into that because I just didn't know what to expect. Like I've been seeing all these guys compete. It's been a long time since I'd competed against these guys. Yeah. Seeing, you know, people like Donan and just these different weights that people are putting up. Like I didn't know where I would end up landing. And oddly enough, like 2022 package in 2019 would have easily won the show.
Yep.
And that just shows over that little bit of time how aggressive, like how far our weight class progressed, that we got so much stronger. So I was just happy to be holding 5th at that point and being able to see like, hey, yeah, I didn't fall off. I stuck with the pack on this.
So when you started off 2022, how did you feel coming out swinging, taking 1st place in the Viking?
Oh man, I was jacked about that. I knew I was going to win that one though. You know,
really?
Again, you know, Dean gave me a run for my money there, but if you watch the video back, I took a 20-second break in between my reps and just got the last 3 that I needed to get.
What do you like about Viking press? I had several people on here, and I've asked them all this question with it. Richard Stout is arguably one of the most statically just strong. I mean, log axe. He's just strong. And Richie Stout, he hates, in comparison, the Viking press. I had Carl Sherry on there, likes the Viking press, and back and forth, we've kind of come up with some mobility, some leverage, blah, blah, blah. What is your take on that?
I think the people that are best at Viking have stronger legs than most.
Really?
Viking for me, well, you got me out here telling my secrets and everything.
Well, you don't want to give up your secrets. We'll do this afterwards.
Yeah. No, man. Like the Viking, people look at it. It's, you know, I think people use a lot of their upper body in it, and obviously having a strong upper body is important.
Sure.
but being able to push press powerfully and efficiently, like that is the key to being strong as a presser.
Sure.
And all that starts from your legs. So it's if you've got legs that operate efficiently, effectively, and in tandem with your upper body, you're going to be good at Viking press. You add in mobility and things like that, that's when you become a god.
Well, let's pause in that real quick, because I was talking to Carl and we brought up somebody like Tommy, who is really good. He's explosive as can be. He can do great on axle. He can hang with those things. But Tommy told me in 2022, he said he basically that screw Viking press. He hates it, because he can't get the carryover. So there has to be some. I mean, I'm not calling Tommy weak at all. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm not going to say that Tommy is going to be your top guy for strict pressing if he had to, So you're basically saying you have to have your legs have to be in it hands down, but you can't obviously cheat that one and not have shoulder too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, nobody winning Viking has weak shoulders. Like,
so Tommy's legs with Richie's shoulders, boom, we got him.
Then you might have it. Well, then you have me.
Yeah.
Then you got me.
Yeah, there you go. that actually is true. That actually is true with that. You do. Okay. So that's why you're so good. You're saying that it's a lot of leg. You have to get your dip and your push has to be working perfectly at the same time with your shoulders and stuff.
That's exactly it. It's just getting those things to work efficiently and effectively. And I mean, and again, for me, like reactive reps, that's where you really get it. Like being able to string together reactive reps, that's where you start getting the huge numbers.
Okay. Are you thinking hard about getting your head through and locking it back? Or are you going straight, trying to get the elbows lined up with the ears? Or I've seen some guys lean far back. They do the Mitchell press, I mean, what are you doing?
I don't know. It just works.
You're just blasting over your head.
It's one of those things just natural for me. Like I've never really had to consciously think about having to get my head through or anything like that. I think I've had one like struggle rep on Viking ever, and I just leaned back a little bit more. That was it. Like,
okay, so you
get it there, and then you just stand up.
Gotcha. Are you so you're just kind of I don't want to just say naturally good at it, because I know you've worked so hard, but like even your dumbbell, you've got a massive dumbbell. You're just somebody who's been an athlete long enough. You can, a lot of people know their body and they know what it's doing all throughout just from doing it. They're not even consciously thinking about it. Their body is just working with them. So that's kind of what you're saying. Your body's just working with you so much. Or you're not even focusing so much on it. Your body's just doing it.
I am very robotic when it comes to things like that. I don't really need to consciously think about it. And granted, there are definitely times where I need to kind of break that down and work on it until it becomes second nature. But that's essentially been what my training's been. I think it probably clicks for me a little bit faster than others, and I don't really have a reason why that works or anything like that. Like when I learn something, when I learn a skill, it takes very little time for me to get it back. If I don't do it for weather, I mean, like. Search dumbbell is a good example of that. Before I set that American record, I hadn't touched a dumbbell, leading up to OSG and everything like that, like that dumbbell ladder and everything like that. I wasn't doing ladders. I was just working on that one dumbbell, just a heavy dumbbell, and but not touching it for forever, and then being able to work on it for just that couple of months leading up to OSG, couple months before the Arnold, and like that's the result. But you put in that once a week. For 4 months, and that's kind of the result that I get.
Yeah, well, hey, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not complaining. I'm not asking too many questions.
How did you like the farmers in that event, and then also your axle deadlift, the 551 for reps? How did both of those go for you?
Oh yeah, we're talking. This is 2022, right? Yeah. Farmers was great. I was fucking pissed because I had Dean. I specifically remember me being up against Dean right next to me, since we took 1 and 2 on the event before. And I started off so much faster than him. And then for the remainder of the event, I'm just staring at his ass the whole time because he got so far ahead of me so fast, because I was still at the point where this was, again, before I hired my new coach. And he, just asked me the question, like, why are you moving your feet so goddamn slow? Like, I just didn't turn my feet over fast enough. So I was getting passed on these events like that. And so Dean whooped my ass on the farmers. I thought I didn't drop it. It was easy. Like it was, I just didn't move fast enough. So I didn't place as high as I would have liked to. But so what we have, farmers in the 551 deadlift, the deadlift, it frustrated the hell out of me because that was the year when they were bitching that, well, a certain somebody bitched about allowing like briefs and stuff like that, and just like the arguing for suits, which was just stupid. That's a whole nother fucking rabbit hole. Again, we don't have to go down that. That was the
I was there for that one.
You were?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was just disgusting.
That was my debut.
that was the most. I forget. Yeah. Because you said you didn't talk. Admittedly, I didn't talk to too many people there that at that point either, because they were just with the hurricane and everything like that. Like that was just.
I was shy.
So, but like that was the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen at a show, at a rules meeting ever. That was just unreal.
Yeah.
But the deadlift itself, like as an event goes, I hate deadlift for reps. I think it's kind of boring, but whatever.
Sure.
I go through that. I think I ended with like 7 or 8 or something like that, and I was pissed because I felt like I could have done way more afterwards. Like I stood up and I said, why didn't I hit like 2 more? I had time to hit multiple more, and I just didn't do it. Which again dropped me a couple points, but at the end of the day, it didn't hurt me as bad as it could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do decent? I left right after that. My wife was she was 9 months pregnant during that show, so I was trying to get back just in case something happened. So as soon as I didn't make the final, which it was no surprise because it wasn't even close, I was like, all right, see you. I was out. But did you end up doing good with the car?
Yeah, I did fine with the car. Again, just kind of funny because I was going. It was me and Ben in the same heat. Yeah. And if anybody watched that show afterwards or saw any highlights from the Fisher Strongman, like Ben smoked that. So yeah. I think I got like 3rd or 4th on that event. But if you watch that video, you would think that I took 10th. Like it looked so bad.
Yeah.
But no, I did just fine on that. And then, like circus dumbbell, again, me and Dean going head to head, like right side by side on that. And like, he barely inched me on that one too. Like I think we went 1-2 on that.
That was a great year for him.
Man, it was good. It was a good year for him. I don't think that he's done either. I think Dean is a very, very, very good athlete.
Well, he's supposed to come on here really soon too.
Nice.
But
good luck understanding him.
I can't. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of my Scottish heritage. Maybe it's because I've watched Braveheart so many times, but I can understand it for the most part. Yeah.
Dean's one of my favorite dudes. I absolutely love Dean, and he knows damn well that like when we talk, I can understand 3 words that he's saying, but I understand everything that he's saying. Like,
yeah. I got you. Yeah. Shoot. Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, he's had a great man last year. What he was able to do, the lightweight scene was phenomenal. But anyway, this is your story. So you get done to this. You got 5th in that show as well, correct?
Got 5th in that one as well. Yeah.
Okay. So that brings us to 2023. You had the Arnold before OSG, right?
Yep.
Let's go with that.
So we got the Arnold. So this is my first victory at the Arnold. Odd year because there were several guys there that I was really excited to compete against. Like I wanted to get revenge on my buddy Andrew Haynes. Ben was there, Ben Donan was there, and so was Josh Lancaster. Like 3 very, very strong guys.
Yeah,
all 3 of them ended up missing weight.
Yep.
So I was very, very angry going into that because those were the guys I wanted. I felt like I needed to kind of like prove that I could beat Ben. I mean, specifically Ben. I wanted to beat him. I really wanted to beat him, and Andrew as well. But never got the chance to compete against him, and that's totally cool. It's whatever. But went through that. I mean, I don't even know what you want to talk about with that. Like or I don't even know how to talk about this. Like None of the events were hard. I had hired my coach, Danny Ashcroft Flash, with MST. We got together in January, so we had 2 months to prep for this. And like, I don't think that we knew we were going to win that show. That was just a given from the beginning. And then we got there, and it was like, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but it wasn't a competition. I was mad because I don't think the right people got invited. I don't think the right people got invited. Like people were, everybody that was there, they worked their ass off. But I think that it wasn't truly a world level competition, just because of the people that were there.
So for you, then your first title there, your first huge. I mean, I'm not taking away anything from you, but the Arnold everybody talks about is big. Your first big one in your head, you feel almost slighted, and you feel like it wasn't legit because you wanted the names, you wanted to take out the real names.
Totally, 100%, man.
My gosh,
100%. Like. We had 6 events. The only event I didn't win at that show was the loading medley. Okay. And that was just because I just kind of stopped. Like, I picked up the 300-pound sandbag. They had switched out a bunch of the implements for like different things. And I picked it up and I was just like, I don't really want to do this. and like kind of that like frustration
approach.
yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't need to. And I think I went into the finals with like a 6-point lead or something like that after they did the recalculation. So I did the dumbbell event and won that one. I could have not done the last 2 events and I still would have won. Like statistically, I still would have won if I didn't even do them. So that was like I was handedly in first place at that point, and like it was definitely more myself. I don't want to disrespect anybody that was there. I'm friends with all these guys like that we competed against. I love those dudes, but it was just it was just a clear, decisive victory.
There was no question who the winner was. There wasn't. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, good night. I don't even want to give you congratulations now since it wasn't. No, I'm just kidding.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't need them.
No, you still hit the numbers. I don't care what anybody says. The numbers. You're competing against people, but you are definitely competing against yourself in numbers, and you hit the numbers. Regardless, you were on form. That was what was important on there. Yeah. Okay. Now we get into 2023 OSG, which was a lot better for me. I don't even like to talk about 2022, but 2023, it's still awful, but I can at least bear it. So
it's better. Okay. All right. We can talk about this
rolling off with the medley. I know everybody had a lot of thoughts and a lot of plans how they were going to attack it. The yoke was not something that anybody thought was going to really be a problem. Most people that I saw didn't really assess the yoke as an issue. Everybody was scared to death of the block. And as we know, the yoke was the yoke of death, basically. So, I had trained the yoke. Me and, again, my coach, we had worked together to kind of figure out a way to set up the yoke that would simulate that as best as possible, the actual rocking and everything like that. Yeah.
So I think we had trained that event really, really smart. The yoke was easy as hell for me. Like if you watch that video of me pressing it, like I think I was the only guy in our weight class to press it first try.
Yeah. And with that, the barbell clean, the dumbbell, those were just little timepieces just to try to slow you up and maybe have a bobble, where you miss it. But when you got to the yoke and you smoked the yoke, that kind of comes down to, I guess, how are you able to do it with that? Because a lot of people, when they pressed it, they weren't able to stay in their straight line, and it did other things for them. So with you, how did you kind of get to it where you just was straight with it, I guess? I don't know.
Saw a lot of people rocking into it and everything like that. And my technique, I just got really good at getting underneath it without impacting the motion of the yoke at all. So I had it just perfectly straight on a front rack with no forward or back motion whatsoever. Okay. So it was just getting a solid front rack, and then just a good push press. There are people that are trying to split jerk it and shit like that. Like you're not going to do that with a yoke.
How did the How did the yoke feel when you picked it up? When I picked up the one in the warm-up area, I absolutely obliterated it with comp weight, and it was effortless. And when I went out there, I was like, I'm getting ready to dominate these guys because they're failing. When I picked the yoke up, and I'm not saying anything, I don't care. I was not the guy, will not been the guy. But when I picked the yoke up, swinging back and forth this way wasn't what got me. The yoke wasn't tight at all, so it was kicking out like this.
Oh.
My leg was swinging this. So when I went and pressed it, I all but had it locked out, but that yoke bobbled and it tipped over that way. The swing on this wasn't full. I didn't have an issue with that. I'm the guy who had 5-gallon buckets filled with concrete and 2x4s with the axle bar through. So I was the whip there. I was good. I had practiced that, but that bar went like this on me, and I probably, looking back, I should have tried to hit it again. But you know, if you try for something twice and you don't have it right, there's no third time. Leave it, you know, save it. And that's what I did. And I think that was the right decision. But I think practicing with it, even if it was kicking that way, I could have got to it, you know.
Yeah.
One of them things.
It was a weird implement, man. And if you know, I got the down command. I had mine locked out, and I got the down command, and I had it stabilized, and then the thing started moving. Yeah, and it got pulled out of my hands, like it flew behind me. It looked like I dropped it behind my head. And they gave me the rep and everything, but because it was clearly, I had no control over that whatsoever.
Okay, wow.
So I dealt with a little bit of it, but the press itself was just cake. The getting into the rack was easy as hell. Yeah. I think some people, and a lot like Viking too, like being able to dip and drive. I think that was their weak point on that.
Yeah.
But you know, whatever it is.
The block. What happened with you with the block? Because you were like so there with the block.
Yeah. So I cleaned it the first time. Yeah. And I don't know if it was the block felt really, really slick to me. And I couldn't, like my hands just slipped and I couldn't do it. And then so I drop it and I roll it off and I actually flipped it onto my big toe and broke my big toe.
I didn't know that.
When I did, yeah. I kept that under wraps. We'll get it since we're in 2023. We'll talk about this. But so I flip it on. I flip it off the pad onto my foot, break my big toe, and go to pick it again. And I didn't realize how close I actually was on my second press attempt too. But ended up missing that one too. So I wasn't happy with how I finished on that. But thankfully, Chris was the only other guy to finish in that. So I got good points and got second to him, which is totally fine. Yeah. Like dude has 2 world records in pressing. I'll lose a press event to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was a really crazy event, man.
It was good.
That for you kind of set the tone. You were, well, we'll go through all the events. You weren't outside of the top on anything you did. No. The next event after that was the Denny Stone in the frame, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I got several thoughts, several things I want to talk about on this one. Number one, they lightened the weight. What was your thoughts on that? I've asked everybody who was there. What was your thoughts on that?
They shouldn't have.
Okay.
They shouldn't have. If you've seen the video of me doing that, like the weight wasn't an issue whatsoever.
No.
It was simple.
You're the only guy. I think you're the only guy. I've timed it now. You're the only guy who is faster than me with the frame.
Yeah.
It was like you were like 7.96 or 8 flat, and I'm 8.06, whatever, something like that. But you know what? There's at least probably 8 guys that are all within like that. I mean, that time.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing with it was, you know, you said you'd like it to have been heavier, and I agree, being a drag race like you were, but Dean and Ben and Ricky, there was a lot of guys who dropped that thing. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I agree with you. I think if they had made it, what was it, 640 supposed to be?
640, yeah. Okay. I don't even know what they ended up being. What was it?
590, wasn't it? 595?
I don't know. It should have been 640.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know if I might have been faster than you. Did you time who made it back to the stones first?
Oh,
you're lost. Okay.
No, no, I think you guys all dominated me from the stones. And when I talk about that, you guys would have beat me anyway. But when I trained the stones, it was no drops. Or was it? It was
That's
just
the part
one
I
drop.
disagree with more. Is
It
the
was the
drop.
no drop thing. And when I trained it, I told myself I was trying to be super fast. And I was like, you know what? There's going to be a lot of factors. There's going to be guys that are trying to go so fast. They're going to drop and they're going to be out. I said, let's train just to get them done and not have to worry about it. I am not dropping these things with my grip. I'm solid there. Let's go through here and make sure that we don't have to worry about it. So I trained to do it that way. And on the day when they changed it to unlimited drops, you know, there's guys that didn't drop it. That's fine. They still were going to beat me. But even having that technique of, okay, I can just be as fast as I want to. If something happens, then I can go. Whereas I'm doing the tours, which, and you know what? It's my fault because if I had trained different, I would have been able to say, I can risk it now. But I stuck to the plan, and that kind of bit me in the butt on that. Because I think that was my best event of the weekend. I took 8th there, but, you know, it could have been better. But it's like anything, everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was a really weird event because you couldn't actually train with the real stones. And, you know, like having metal plates banging up against your legs felt entirely different than having those, like, nice smooth rocks that are actually sitting on your calves nicely.
Yeah.
There was, and I mean, granted that timber frame, I know it was a wider pick, but like, it's world's strongest man, dude. Like, you guys got
for me. I made my own frame. I'll have to show you sometime. I made my own frame. Everybody was talking about how wide that frame was. I felt like that frame was so close. I specifically measured my frame out to being like, I mean, my arms are out like this. So when I picked that was like great, you know?
Yeah. Dude, no. I mean, it was a cool event, man. And I mean, I love what Sticks and Stones does, and they put together just an awesome event. Being able to carry that big frame. And so, the reason I asked about whether you timed me for us from if like you were close to me on the frame time, but if you beat me back to getting to the stones, because I was when I had dropped the frame and jumped out of it, I saw that everybody in my heat was still carrying the frame, and I started high stepping back. Like I was talking shit mid event, running back to the stones and like hooting and hollering. And so I was already jacked up at that point, and then being able to carry the stones through and win that event. And that was that was a time I really see this is where down regulation comes in handy, because we get through that event. I was very, very amped up at that point.
Oh yeah.
And we have to leave through that back competitor area, and somebody had like, I don't know what was going on, but somebody had like their grandmother back there as their handler or something. And I almost went through this 90-year-old woman, like through her. And I was like, it would have been bad. Like she would have been going to the hospital, because I was like tearing through there, like shouldering people and shit like an asshole. And she almost got caught in the path of that. So I'm happy that worked out. But bro, and then so finished that event, won that event. So now me and Chris, I think we're tied. We're tied for first now. Yeah. End of day one, I go out and I smoke a J and calm the hell down and move on to day two. So went into day two again, tied for first. And I think deadlift was that first event. And this was go ahead.
I was going to say, what was your strategy for deadlift? Because everybody was back and forth. Did we strap up all the way and try to get to, you know, that 675? Do we try to hit them as fast as we can? Yeah. What was your approach on that deal?
So my approach is going really fast through two, because I knew that I could get super fast. I could get through those first two really quickly. Yeah. I had trained 635 without straps. And it was easy, you know, something that's really easy to hit just by doing it by itself. But doing it in a ladder wasn't necessarily working out as well. So I decided just to strap in for 635 so I don't waste any energy, just make sure I hit 635 fast. And then just truthfully, we knew there was no chance I was getting 705, 715. I didn't even know what the last bar was, because I knew there was no chance of me hitting it. I wanted to try to get a shot at that 675. Yeah. So just wanted to conserve some energy going into that 675. Ended up not being able to get it. But I was fast enough through those first three. I think I finished like 11th or 12th on that one.
Gotcha.
And this is like and that's where admittedly deadlift is just my weakness at the moment. And that was it's kind of my, just that one thing. Everybody's got their one thing they got to work on, and that's just mine
too.
now.
Yeah, I think it's funny though. As good as you are, you said what place did you get in that?
I think I got 11th.
Yeah, I had a Mason Cup on here a couple weeks ago, and I can't remember what position he got on there. I think he got 8th or something, and he hit 6:35. That was his best, but he was like the fastest guy to go through 3 bars.
Yep.
And that that kind of makes a big deal, because there's a lot of guys that were a huge amount of the pack were at 6:35 and were close maybe, but 6:75 at that moment in that series was maybe a little bit out of their grasp. But when you come down to doing speed that way, that really changed a lot because if you don't train hook grip, it could go bad. And even if you do train hook grip, like Ricky, it could go bad.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. Anything can go wrong. And that was it was wild seeing everybody go after us too. And you're, and I say that, but like having the dude in the heat right before you tear his bicep, especially when he's one of your buddies, that's another thing that just kind of fucks you a little bit. It's not something not really fun to watch, fun to happen. So, but yeah, it was what it was, that we finished where we could on that one. And then what was the next one? That stupid carry medley. Yeah. So I fucked up on this one. I was so mad at this one. I usually have one of these in every competition where it was like, just one little slip up. And mine on this one was I had trained this event so goddamn heavy that as soon as I picked up the sled, I kept treating it like it was heavy. Yeah. When I could have sprinted with that thing and I didn't.
Yep. That sled was so light you could have literally done a football drill where you turn around the other way and you just charge head with it. Yeah, you literally could. The tombstone and isn't that what it was? A tombstone?
Yeah.
And then that great big ball. I like those. I thought those were pretty cool. Doing it with the Go Rock on my back, I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of like if you wanted to have it, fine. I'll put a backpack on and do it. Yep. The backpack. The problem with that for me in that event was I was slow in those beginning ones, which it doesn't matter. But I had a stomach issues, so I was carrying it. I was like, but it doesn't matter. But when I got to the sled, I just took off with that thing. That thing was easy.
Yeah. Ross, you got to get yourself some odd object shit-proof shorts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm telling you what, that was bad. I think I did. I think I actually did a little bit on that one, but I kept on with it.
If you ain't shitting, you ain't trying.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So no, man, that was a.
Where did you place in that event?
I think I was like 7th on that one.
Were you fast with the with those implements though? Picking them.
I was fast with the implements. I just was slower with the sled.
Yeah.
I think I was 2nd to the sled in my heat, and my heat was me, Donan, Harper, and Dean.
Yeah.
And I took 4th in my heat. So I think overall I got like 7th or something like that.
At that point, wasn't it at that point because you had the leader shirt for a little bit there?
Just that one, just for the deadlift event.
Really? And after that, you didn't. I thought you had it again.
No.
Chris
got it that whole time. That was the only time I had it. So Chris finished 1 ahead of me on deadlift, like literally like 1 place ahead of me, and I think it was like 2 places ahead of me on the drag. And then I mean, man, he props to him because he was untouchable that weekend. Like they were good events for me, but he held together and did a really, really good job.
Well, no disrespect to you at all, but you were somebody that I just completely didn't even look at for that. I wasn't even as aware of you. I knew of you, but not like just passing. I was thinking, I said, Ricky is somebody that nobody is talking about. he is going to come out and hit some people in the mouth. I said, Dean had a great year last year. He's had an awesome year. The only thing with Dean, I was like, if he falls apart, he's had such a crazy year of competing. Can he make it to the end? And then I thought Donnan, he's going to be great. And literally, it was like as soon as we got there, it was just like, phew, it was shifting. I mean, like from the moment it started, I looked at it and it's funny when you compete, you can see it differently. But it was just like all of a sudden it was you, Chris, and I was like, wait a second, how are we looking at these guys now? And it stayed that way, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the other guys were trying to catch up to you guys.
Yeah, no, it was a good year, man. I think there was the level of competition was crazy high, which is exactly what I want to see. And I just think it showed that the future of our class is going to be really, really good. And then even like guys we haven't even talked about yet that came up out of nowhere, like Kyle Scott and Finley.
Yeah.
I mean, even Dylan Thompson, like Mason, like, these guys are very consistent. Like, and when you find out how young some of these dudes are, like, I mean, what's Kyle, 21, some shit like that?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, he's young.
And Natty, like this guy is,
Well, the other one is, Finlay Mercer. He's another young one.
One of my favorite dudes because he's a fucking nutcase, and he's his own worst enemy because he just goes absolutely crazy on some of these events and just he's going to be great. Finn's going to be an awesome competitor. I'm looking forward to competing against him. You talk about these guys being young and hopping in here. The only thing with them is they've not had that. They've had the success that some of that, like you might not have started with as whatever, but they've not hit the adversity in the same token that you got to. What happens when you get your first real injury? What happens when your body just kind of, when you're so young, your body will make progression. What happens when your body that first 5-year drought of suck where I don't want to get better, and you have to keep forcing little things, do you do things that could potentially get you injured more? How do you get through that, So kind of talking about guys being a flash in the pan, I don't wish that on any of those guys. No.
But I am interested to see kind of where it goes, if they can keep it riding, because there does come a point where you can't ride for forever. There has to be a plateau, and you have to realize that.
Yeah, you do. And I think that, I mean, the funny thing is if you make it through, whether there's injuries involved or not, if you make it through to 30 and you're training consistently during your 20s, making it through to 30, then you just start to unlock that old man strength. And that's awesome. You got to work a lot less hard and you get the same amount of payout from it. So it's perfect. It's like,
I've talked to a lot of people about that. So that's real.
Crazy, man. It's funny.
I cannot wait.
My phone's getting a little low. I'm gonna grab my charger and swing back over here in a second.
Okay, no problem. All right, and we're back. Okay, so wrapping up OSG for 2023. You got second place there, and that was arguably, man. That was, I know you want to top that. I know you're coming back trying to look to top that, of course.
Yeah, man. I think that 2023 was a great year. I think that they were good events for me and everything like that. But my goal was podium, and I accomplished that goal. And now, I mean, the next thing from there is just to win, and there is no other goal. Like that's this year. This next 10 months for me has just been training for OSG 2024 to win. So that's our goal for this year.
Good deal. That's awesome. Okay, so roll for 2023. We got your next big accomplishment, which is the Arnolds. When you went on the Arnolds coming off of 2023, did you have maybe a chip on your shoulder a little bit from still coming from that, or were you just strong or amped, or where were you at head mentally?
I was in a good space mentally. Again, I think that it was just like there was so much carryover from OSG events like the sandbag toss and things like that. There was like so little that you had to train for. Like legitimately, I just didn't really have to train too much for it. We still put in the work, like really working on max sandbag, sandbag shoulder and things like that. Again, had no illusions that we weren't going to be gunning for the top. Like finals were always that was definitely going to be happening unless there's something crazy that happened before that. And those things didn't happen, so we made it to finals. I don't know if you want. We don't have to talk about every single event or anything like that.
That's
I don't
fine.
really want to linger.
What
I
did
don't want
you
to linger
think
too much
about
on the Arnold because this year was embarrassing from a promoter standpoint, and it's just like that. That's the other. That's the sour thing for me about the Arnold at this point right now.
Really?
Yeah.
I know Dean was gutted because he didn't make it to the final that year.
No. And I was hoping I wanted
that part of the issue. What?
Yes. Admittedly, yes. That was part of it. I wanted to have Dean there because he's my buddy, and also because he had beaten me at PSL earlier that year and everything. So it's like I wanted a little bit of payback from him because I felt like I didn't get his all at OSG. I think that he was beat up going into that, but I knew that he was healthy and going into the Arnold, and just a couple like slip ups here and there, but a couple minor things would have changed on his end, and he would have been in the finals. So it's like, it is what it is. It's kind of strongest on the day type thing.
So your two biggest titles that you won, you've got issue with each one of them.
Strong in both of them.
Dang it, Josh! Why can't you just be a winner and be happy?
If I win again this year, then we'll see if I'm happy with it. Then,
you know what?
Repeat in the '80s, we'll be okay.
There's a lot of things that could happen, but basically, what you're really saying there, without saying it, is you always want more.
Yeah.
You won. A lot of people would have won in 2023 with 5 guys dropping out. Think, well, good luck. Oh, well, boys, couldn't make it, but you wanted to have that. 2024 rolls around. There's some other issues there that kind of sour the win for you, and I'm sure there's always going to be something, but you can at least. I'm going to tell you right now, you can at least hang your hat on and be proud that you've done something that very few people have done one time, and you have done it back to back.
Yeah. I don't want to make it seem like I'm not proud of my accomplishments or anything like that. Like I know they're major and everything, but it's also one of these things. It's interesting, even I talk about getting second in OSG this past year, and winning the Arnold twice. There's been these moments where I'm just, it's after the competition. I'm back in the Airbnb, the hotel room, whatever it is. And you're staring at this, in some cases, a $5 trophy, staring at this $5 trophy. And you're like, all right, so, am I happy about this? Is this what I actually wanted? Is this what I was going for? Am I, did we reach the mountaintop here? And both times I'm just like, just kind of shrug at it. It's like, it's not that I'm ungrateful for it. I'm not proud of it or anything like that. But both times I just, there's been this, it kind of gives you an opportunity to realize who you actually are. And I think a big problem in this sport and with a lot of things is, you're so tied to being like, this is your identity. Being a strongman is your identity. And, and for some people, even like being successful in strongman is your identity. And if you're not successful in it, then you're not who you think you are. And that's just not me, man. Like when I talk to people, like I don't really open up as my, I train strongman. I just can't wait to talk about it. I don't fucking talk about this stuff with most people. Like this is the longest strongman conversation I've had in months. Like that's the type of like my mentality behind like, being in this sport and everything. I'm grateful to be here. I love this sport. But there's other things, and I think if you get too tied to one thing in life, it's a slippery slope to be on, and that's not a path I want to put anybody on.
Yeah, well, and there's one thing you're saying there too. You've been there for such a long time. People that are putting their identity in the sport, or it is who they are, or this or that. A lot of times those are the same people that do the same thing with work and with jobs, or this or that, or put identity in a person. And when you do things like that, you open yourself up to not being even having the same joy that you could have from it because you can't attain it. And, if all you're going to tell people, oh, I'm the strong man, people that's going to make you feel worse. Trying to get validation from those people is going to make you feel worse because they're not going to understand it. They're going to say, oh, you're small. How can you compete at the Worlds? There's going to be so many things that you have to explain and jump through hoops to make it. You just leave it alone. That's not even who you are to do those people,
No, not at all. Yeah, and it's like I mean, guys like us, especially when you reach this upper echelon of a level, like you've got a look about you. You don't look like you don't work out. You don't look like you don't train, or you're doing something with like all that muscle and everything like that. So it's kind of like your personality, or you're already giving enough of your personality out to people about like who you are. Like, don't give them more of a resource to just be like, or more ammunition to be like, yeah, all this guy cares about is the gym or anything like that. It's just, there's so much more to people. And like, I mean, fuck, I've got, I've said it a couple times now, like just going all in on things. Like I go all in on like gardening stuff. Like I do shit outside. Like I have all these different hobbies that I'm able to still like dedicate so much time to. And it's not just tying yourself down to one thing. It's such a shitty spot to be in. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I really love what you said right there. I think that's probably one of the greatest spots we could end it. You know, having somebody like you who's been so successful, is so good, has been so driven, sports driven. You're sitting here saying, hey, yeah, as much as it is, and you want to keep doing it, you cannot be to the point to where it is everything to you. There has to be other things. It doesn't mean it doesn't consume you at certain times and that there's not other things, but you know, you have to still be able to balance everything enough to where you can actually keep progressing, or else you won't even be able to mentally be in that space.
No, man. Yeah. Everybody needs a different outlet, and everybody's, everybody likes to say that the gym is like your escape, or that's your therapy, that type of thing. Like, no, man, get outside, touch some grass sometime. Like let's have a good time and just enjoy life. There's more to life than strongman, but that doesn't mean that strongman can't be a part of your life.
Yeah, that's my issue right now. I got terrible allergies. I've been out on the farm too much. I'm dying.
I'll send some Claritin your way, brother.
Yeah, I've had 3 today. Yeah, anyway. Well, Josh, it has been an absolute honor and a privilege to have you on here, buddy. I've never really got to talk to you like this, so this was a great first time and platform to do it. I love your story. Cannot wait to see what happens 2024. I'm going about it annoyed because I missed out on the final 12th place. This is what it is. So I've got to find a way to qualify again. So I might see you again. I should see if I don't see you again in 2024, it's a failure on my training. So we'll put that out there for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I hope we'll see you out there, man. It's been good this year. Madison's right in my backyard too. So
there you go. So anything you want to say to sign off here?
No, man, just appreciate you having me on, and everybody follow me on social at Josh Kowalewski. Buy some Odd Object shit. Josh K 15% off.
There you go.
Real, man. Like appreciate you having me on here, and I like what you're doing for this. Just for the weight classes and for everybody. It's good to see somebody branching out and giving us some love here.
Well, I appreciate it. I wish I had a lot more people that would watch it and see it and get you know that. But hey, channel's growing, but these interview ones, you know, you got the people that are loyal to you guys, your fans. They'll go through and watch it, and I get a good time for that. But I wish I get my views higher on these interviews because it's good stuff what you guys have been saying. You guys are really top level people and athletes as well. So I appreciate it.
We'll push this one. We'll see what we get those numbers to this time.
We'll do it. Josh, I appreciate you, man. You have a good rest of your day.
You too, man. Thanks, Rob.
All right.